The rotation roulette continues. Clayton Kershaw was good. Tony Gonsolin is hurt. And Justin Robleski is in the starting rotation now.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fans, welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. This is a daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening and watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when I'm going live on YouTube. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. I'm Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snider. And we've been doing Locked On Dodgers since 2019. We've been covering the Dodgers in our own ways for over a decade now, and we've been Dodger fans our whole lives. And it feels like I've been watching Clayton Kershaw my whole life, even though it's been my whole adult life for sure, not my whole life. But Clayton Kershaw was good on Sunday. Good thing for the rotation because the rotation is in flux once again. We're going to talk about that. Hyeseong Kim has continued to rack up hits, still hitting over 400. But he's not getting a lot of playing time, and he's getting pinch hit for. Is that something that shouldn't happen anymore? And then we're going to take a look at the offense as a whole because the Dodgers had a not great offensive weekend, but there's not a lot of concern right now overall. So we're going to get into all that. But let's start with the rotation and Clayton Kershaw specifically. I know you ran the postcast this weekend, so you talked about Clayton Kershaw, but I'm sure you're not going to decline to talk about him a little bit more. And the last few outings we've talked about him, the conversation has been one, keep your expectations to what it is. Clayton Kershaw is a number 4 or 5 starter on this team. 2, the velocity's been down, so that's not necessarily something that is a main concern. And the concern was where he puts it. And we saw that if he can still put it where he wants to, he can be pretty effective.
Yeah, and we said that so many times that it was pretty clear that his big issue, his first several starts this year, was the command wasn't back yet. And that's something that is common when you're coming back from injury. But also, after his last start, we talked about the fact that everybody at some point can't pitch anymore. And, we've seen Kershaw overcome not having the good fastball anymore and still be very effective. And a lot of pitchers do overcome that and become smarter pitchers as they get older and, crafty lefties or whatever you want to call them. But even those people eventually are out of baseball. And I assume it is because they stop being able to put the ball where they want it. It's probably not true that no matter how slow your fastball is, if you can command it, you can be successful. But command is definitely important. And for Kershaw, it was more the command, yes, on the fastball, but more on the 2 breaking balls. And it was really, really good to see him on Sunday commanding all 3 pitches because, I had at least a little bit of concern deep in my heart that I wasn't letting out loud that maybe he wasn't going to refine the command. So at least for one day he did.
Yeah, and it gives you hope because the command, it was the main issue. I mean, 12 swings and misses, that's something we haven't really seen so far from him. He got a lot of, the curveball was in the zone. He was able to steal strikes with it. He even got, I think, a swing and miss with the splitter there toward the end. He got the slider guys didn't know what was coming and guys didn't know what to expect. And when you have, a fastball that averages around 90, 91 miles an hour, if you can get guys thinking, well, I don't know what's coming, a 72 mile an hour, looping curveball or the fastball or the slider that looks just like your fastball until the end, then you can keep guys kind of how he was. There was, not a lot of super ugly swings, but a lot of pitches that weren't strikes. And the big thing was no walks. So he was in the zone for the most part. And is this how he's going to be every start? Probably not. But the fact that we've seen it now means that it's not gone. And, as a number 4 or 5 starter in this rotation, that kind of outing, even if it's not every single time out, is very good.
Yeah, you mentioned the swings at pitches out of the zone. That's definitely a big indicator that he had them off balance, which meant that hitters weren't able to key in on, oh, I'm in a hitter's count. I know he has to throw me a fastball, which is what they've been, some of his starts earlier this year, not getting ahead of hitters and not having command. They could kind of key in on what pitch he was going to throw. Today, it felt like he could throw any pitch in any count, which meant that they had to be ready for any pitch in any count. And that's how you get swings and misses outside the zone. It's also how you get swings and misses inside the zone, which we saw. I mentioned on the postcast, there was one with Pedro Pages fouling off a pitch right down the middle because he had him off balance. He didn't know what to expect, and how Kershaw, when he was at his best, got more swing and miss and weak contact on pitches right down the middle than any other pitcher in baseball because of that. But then there was also that huge strikeout to whichever lefty it was. Burleson and Donovan are the same person to me, so I'm not going to try to differentiate them. But whichever one of them it was, when it was second and third and 2 outs in that 5th inning, Kershaw's last batter, and Kershaw gets that strikeout on a pitch in the zone. It was a slider. It was a well-placed slider on the outside corner, but it was because he was able to throw that pitch in that count. He got a very good, I think it was Donovan, because I remember thinking it was a very good hitter, and Donovan's a better hitter than Burleson. So probably Donovan, but he got a strikeout in the zone, a swing and miss from a very good hitter because he had that command that he needed.
Yeah. All right. So the rotation, Kershaw, we think there's some life there, but there not going to be life with Tony Gonsolin throwing a baseball right now because he has been shut down. He's on the injured list. The good news is his UCL is intact from some of the wording that we saw on social media, but he won't be pitching for the Dodgers for a while. Jester Robleski pitched on Friday. He did okay. He still has been up and down in his career so far, but he's earned, quote unquote, earned himself another start because the Dodgers don't really have anyone else right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did pitch well enough to earn a start, especially, compared to Landon Knack, who we were comparing him to the other day. But Knack, now we know with Gonsolin down that the Dodgers do need a starter on Tuesday, and it probably won't be Landon Knack because he could only be called back up if somebody got hurt. And they do have a couple options who are probably, I don't know about better options than Knack, but definitely less recently tried options than Knack. And that's, Bobby Miller pitched on the 4th, whatever day that was. That would have been Wednesday. And Matt Sauer pitched on Tuesday, both in Oklahoma City. So both of those guys are plenty rested to pitch for the Dodgers on Tuesday to start. Both of them are stretched out. You could go into it expecting, or at least hoping for, 6 innings from either of them. I'm torn on those two because they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah. Again, when we've talked about this a lot, and I've mentioned coin flip as a term for the Dodgers pitching in some cases where you don't know what you're going to get, and both of those guys are a coin flip. Both of those guys. I mean, obviously Bobby Miller, he's been not good in the majors. He's been off and on in the minors so far this season. He probably has, as always, he's always going to have the higher ceiling because of the stuff that he has, but his floor is maybe not quite there. Matt Sauer, he's not going to give you, 7 shutout innings, but he could give you 5 innings of 2 or 3 runs, hopefully. At least, the very least, and hopefully this doesn't change in the series, is that the Padres offense has been struggling as of late. So, the only thing to get them going again. But, yeah, at this point for the Dodgers, and between those two guys, I probably have Sauer up above Miller, but
yeah, and quality-wise, I think I agree with you. Miller had 2 good starts in a row in AAA with a 2-inning relief stint in the majors sandwiched between them. But May 18th and then May 29th, between the two, he went 11 2/3 and allowed 0 runs, and also only walked 5 in those 11 2/3. His more recent start on Wednesday, 5 innings and 3 earned runs allowed, and 4 walks. So, the walks are the big concern there. The one reason that I might go Miller is just because he's more Miller threw 98 pitches in his last start. Sauer has topped out around 80. So if they're looking for quantity, bulk, maybe they go with Miller. But Sauer seems like he might be the better option.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. Moving on to the offense, Hyeseong Kim is still hitting over 400, but he's not playing that often. Is that something that needs to change? Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. And they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller, longer. I got my bag of pistachios right here that I like to enjoy when I'm watching games at the house. These are the shelled versions because at the house I can make whatever kind of mess I want. They're the no shell variety, which is easier for on the go, or maybe if you're at an actual game and you don't want to make a mess. Whatever it is, Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein that gives you all 9 essential amino acids. It's a little green wonder that packs a protein punch. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs that protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Or last listen, wherever we are in your listening day, because we do go live and you might not listen live. So whatever it is, we appreciate you. You can check us out wherever you get podcasts out on YouTube, becoming every day or by listening and watching every day. And if you want someone else to listen to, check out Locked On MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk about Hyeseong Kim because he continues to be a surprise maybe for some people offensively and been really good for the Dodgers. And obviously when someone is really good, playing very well, but not playing very often, there are going to be calls for him to play more often. And that's where we're at with Hyeseong Kim. Dave Roberts continues to be asked about him when he doesn't play. He mentioned after one of the games, he said, he didn't play this day because it was a left-handed pitcher. He didn't play this day because I decided not to play him. He got pinch hit for in Sunday's game, even though he did have, triple earlier in the game. Jeff, is it warranted to say that Hyeseong Kim needs to play more?
I think it probably is. And I talked a little bit about this on the postcast today. Like, I understand the Dodgers' reasoning, which is that Kike Hernandez is on this roster to mash lefties. So whether he's mashing lefties right now or not, they need to know if they can trust him to mash lefties in October. And the way to do that is to let him bat against some lefties. And so, Kike is in a situation right now where he's getting at bats that he doesn't necessarily deserve or hasn't earned because they need to figure out what he is. I do think we've reached the point where they probably need to stop coming at the expense of Kim pretty soon anyway. Like, I'm not up in arms about it. Kim is playing almost exactly as often as Dave Roberts said that he would when the Dodgers called him up. Of course, he wasn't batting 400 in the big leagues for a full month when Dave Roberts said that. And so obviously that calculus will change. I do think it's pretty common for a major league team to take a little bit longer to make that change than fans would like. And for me, what it boils down to is I'd like to know if Hyeseong Kim can hit lefties, because so far he's only batted against lefties twice in the big leagues, and he's 2 for 2 with a homer. And in the minor leagues, I looked it up this year. I have no idea what his splits were in Korea. I don't know if there is anywhere publicly to find platoon splits from the KBO. But in Oklahoma City this year, he had a 1017 OPS against lefties. So he was better against lefties in Oklahoma City. He's been technically better against lefties in the big leagues, but it's 2 at-bats. I would like to see more of that to give him a chance and especially one of the thoughts I had, and I'll make it quick so you can, I don't want to overrun this segment, but Kim might be the reason that the Dodgers finally bite the bullet and dump Conforto, or at least stop playing him as often, because we've seen Kim playing a good center field lately too. And if Kim can play center field, that is a much better defensive outfield by putting Andy Pages in one of the corners anyway. Put Kim in center field, and then obviously I'll take a guy batting, 414 or whatever, over a guy batting whatever number that starts with 1 Michael Conforto is currently batting.
Yeah, I talked about Kim. I don't think it was a full segment, but what I said was, hot hand is one of the reasons you'd like to see Kim more, but also you want to see exactly what it is. Like, is this who he is now? Not a 400 hitter, but is he an above average offensive player, or is he playing above his means right now? If you put him in there every day, there could be a point where he has a 0 for 25 slump or something like that, and guys start figuring him out. And I'm trying to think, like, do the Dodgers? Obviously, there's going to be data and there's going to be video and there's going to be stuff like that now that he's been playing more. But is it one of those where if you can play him one game a series and he's surprised because he's good at one game, but you can't get exposed the other games, then they're going to keep riding that until there's enough data or until teams start figuring them out. Like, I don't know exactly what the thought process is. It is tough because, like, we're seeing Conforto play a lot. We're seeing other people get at Rojas, get at bats over Kim. And yeah, we know the Dodgers. It's not always fair. It's not always who deserves to play or who's playing the best at the moment that's playing. But with Kim, it just feels kind of weird that you have a guy hitting 400 in a big enough sample size and he's not playing at least 3-4 times.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think some of it probably is the fact that, when you say, obviously he's not going to keep hitting 400. So we know he's playing above his level right now. So knowing that it's going to drop off, it's like, okay, but how much? Is he a 330 hitter like he was in Korea, or is he a 260 hitter? Or, and is he a 260 hitter with no power? I mean, I know he has 2 homers, but, most of his slugging percentage is going to come from doubles and triples more than homers probably. And, so it's kind of, there's probably some of that we don't know, but also I think some of it is just that he has value off the bench, whereas Conforto probably doesn't. Conforto can't pinch run for you because he's slow. He can't come in as a defensive replacement because he's bad on defense. And I know if I was listening to this right now and I didn't know the person who was saying these words, I'd be yelling at my YouTube saying, so your argument for playing Conforto more is that he's a worse player? And I'm wanting to yell that at myself right now. But Conforto is probably better than he's playing, and Kim is probably worse than he's playing. But I don't know that either of those is enough that they're going to get anywhere closer. I think Kim's the better player right now. But that does mean kind of biting the bullet and saying, because if Conforto's not starting, he probably doesn't belong on the roster. And, we've had this conversation about so many players over the last several years of, if he's not a starter, or if Kenley Jansen's not the closer, he doesn't belong in the bullpen at all, and this time it's Conforto. If he's not starting, he probably doesn't belong on the roster.
Yeah, and that's true. And that might be what's delaying this or why, Kim's not getting as much playing time as we'd like to see. But I do think, and this goes back to, we don't know exactly what their thought or plan is with him, because I mentioned the fact that they're not paying him a lot meant that they weren't necessarily they didn't have to worry about development really. Like, if you wanted this guy to be a backup player or utility backup player, then he'll be a utility backup player. Like, obviously if they signed him and told him, hey, we want you to be an everyday player at some point, then yeah, there's a little bit of they're not being genuine there. But if they didn't and he just wanted to sign with the Dodgers because he loved the Dodgers, which we've heard him say, then they don't really owe him the value of trying to make him an everyday player. But also, you kind of owe anyone value the chance of being an everyday player when you are almost 100 at-bats in and hitting 400. Like, that's not a small enough sample size. Now, obviously, again, if he does come in and regress, he doesn't walk very often. So, if he's not hitting, then he's probably not getting on base. And the speed doesn't really do anything for you. But, again, at least me, I'm to the point where it's like, okay, I want to see it. I want to see if he goes on a big slump and sucks, or I want to see if, hey, he's good enough to compete and he's good enough to take at-bats.
Yeah, and maybe we're back to where we were a few weeks ago of, well, maybe it's time for Michael Conforto to tweak that hammy and go spend a couple of weeks with the hitting coaches in Arizona and work on things on the backfields while we let Hyeseong Kim find out what he is in the big leagues.
And we could get there. How we feel about Conforto now. You know how we feel about Hyeseong Kim. How do we feel about the rest of this offense coming off a weekend where it wasn't as fun to watch? Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided last minute, I want to go to a ball game with my friends, with your family, whoever it is? Maybe it's game day and you're just, I want to be there. I want to be at the game. You know, maybe you want to do that in San Diego this week. Maybe you want to do that when San Diego's in town next week. That's where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app usually drop closer to you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is also the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse that for an upcoming Dodger game. Zone deals, last minute tickets, whatever it is. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I want to thank you for being in every day. If you are one, and every day is just someone that listens or watches every day. We want to thank you. If you are already in every day, we want to thank you. If this is your first time listening, watching, come back with us. We're here. You know, this is episode 1 of the week. There'll be 4 more after this. It's a big series against the Padres. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be hyped. I'm sure social media will be nice and fun and cheery to go along with everything else going on. So, yeah, check us out. It's Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to go beyond the podcast, give me Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us and keep up to date with the Dodgers and join our Discord server to talk Dodgers with other Dodger insiders. And Jeff, we know we wanted to talk about a couple players. We knew we wanted to talk about the offense, but we didn't exactly know how we wanted to present it. And it's June 8th. It's been a couple months. We're in spots where most guys are position player-wise. The Dodgers are fairly healthy. So wanted to run a temperature check where we're at for some of these guys. The Dodgers, we'll talk about this first. Runners in scoring position. The Dodgers went 4 for 39 this weekend. 3 of those hits coming on Sunday. 1 of those hits didn't even score a run on the Friday night game. But 39 chances with runners on base in 3 games is the good part. It's the fact that, they didn't get more hits is the bad part. But again, I think I'll take 39 chances every 3-game series and take my chances that the Dodgers are going to get more than 3 hits.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to have 39 at-bats with runners in scoring position and only score 8 runs. So congratulations to the Dodgers on doing the almost impossible. But you remember in 2018 when the Dodgers had this issue for a while and it got to the point where well, maybe this is just who they are. And even then, they ended up the hottest team in the second half, ended up in the World Series that year. But they came perilously close to not even winning the division. They had to go to a game 163 that year because they struggled so much with runners in scoring position. I made the comparison on the postcast yesterday to the 2022 NLDS when the Dodgers went 0 for 20 or something at one stretch with runners in scoring position. And at the time, everybody these Dodgers choke under pressure, and so happens in early June in St. Louis. It's not choking under pressure. It's just a bad couple games. But because they have been so good with runners in scoring position all year long, it's not something, it was frustrating, but not worrisome to watch, I guess. And the fact that they did get 39 at bats with runners in scoring position in a 3-game series means that if they can do that every series, they're going to win pretty much all of their series.
Yeah. If they can get that, even if you get 5 hits, you're probably going to score more than the 8 runs total they scored this weekend. So let's go player by player on these position player sides. We won't talk about Hyeseong Kim. We know how we feel about him. Conforto, I don't think we have anything else to say there. He got the hit to win the game against the Mets. He gets a couple hits here and there now, but at this point, he's not showing anything that makes me feel like he's going to break out anytime soon. We'll go with the easy one first. Shohei Ohtani didn't do a lot this weekend, but again, not a lot of the Dodgers didn't do a lot that mattered because they didn't get a lot of hits for on score position. Yeah,
Ohtani, I don't have any concerns about. He's going to be up and down, but Ohtani's down is still better than a lot of people's up. And so, I expect Ohtani to have, one of those weeks pretty soon where he hits 6 homers and, looks like the best player in baseball again. Whereas the last few games, he's just looked like a good hitter.
One guy that's trending up is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts had a good weekend. He even hit a homer on Sunday. A lot of talk around him with is playing shortstop, the reason he's struggling on offense or sapping his power or blah, 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 all this other stuff. You know what? Mookie was never known to be a power hitter. Before he came to the Dodgers, he had a couple big power years, but the Mookie Betts we saw over the weekend was kind of the Mookie Betts that was the guy they traded for. Guy that can, definitely can hit singles, then can, get you a double here, get you a homer here, whatever it is. His OPS is up to 782 or something, I think. Or
I think 782.
782. So that's, a lot closer than he was to 800 a couple weeks ago when he was at 750.
Yeah. And, he was 1 for 5 on Sunday. Very easily could have been 3 for 5. He had a line drive with a 720 expected batting average that Nolan Arenado made a nice stab on. And then he had that infield single in the second inning that the umpire called it an out. But, great play by Mason Wynn, who has a great arm, and Mookie still was probably safe. Probably should have been an RBI single there. So he very easily could have been 3 for 5 in this game. So that OPS would have been even higher. Mookie is looking good. Mookie's always been kind of a streaky hitter. And the last 4 or 5 games, he's looked outstanding and, kind of seems more comfortable in what he wants to be of just being a line drive hitter, getting the ball in the air when he needs to. And I'm excited about where Mookie is right now.
Made a lot of good plays defensively this weekend as well. A lot of balls that we haven't seen him really either hasn't had opportunities or hasn't got to balls on the ground up the middle, diving plays, getting up, throwing the ball. So that's also good to see. Freddie Freeman, a Freddie Freeman cold streak is about 4 or 5 games worth now. Is there general concern there?
His OPS is down to exactly 1,000. His batting average is down to 345. He was batting 372 or something just a week and a half ago, somewhere around there. And so, it's I don't think I'm worried because Freddie, I don't know if we've ever seen in his time with the Dodgers a prolonged slump from Freddie, even earlier this year when he wasn't feeling right. And it's like, but he's still hitting really well, And so I expect that this 4 or 5 games that we've seen from Freddie is getting close to as long as it's going to be. I expect a 2 or 3 hit night from him sometime in the next couple days.
With him, the lack of power, he hasn't homered very often. After that one hot week he had, we thought, he might break out with power. Do you think it's just going to be an up and down thing with him?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's so hard for us to have any idea how much the ankle's affecting him, how much the ribs are even affecting him. Without really knowing, it might be,
1 homer in the last 30 games.
Yeah. So maybe, and it's not like he's hitting a ton of doubles either. He's always going to hit his share of doubles, but it's not like he's traded homers for doubles. It's just, less power, which I'm okay with. Freddie, with all the runners that he's going to come up with runners on base, runners in scoring position. And as long as he's getting hits, that's good enough. But it would be nice to see him hitting a few more homers for sure.
Yeah. All right. We're going to have to speed through these last ones. So I'm going to name the rest of the guys. You tell me who you're most concerned about and who you're not concerned about. Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Tommy Edman, Kike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, and Dalton Rushing.
So Teo is my biggest concern right now, just because we are coming up on a month since he's, it's been 3.5 weeks since he came back from injury, and he's been basically terrible since then. That concerns me a lot. I don't know what the solution is, if it is just playing his way out of it. I hope that happens soon. I was concerned about Edman. Edman had a good game on Sunday, and maybe that's a sign that he's starting to break out. Obviously, 1 2 for 3 game doesn't mean a whole lot, but it might mean something, and but we won't know for a while. Dalton Rushing is probably a guy we're going to need to do a full segment on sometime in the next day or two, just to if his skills are being served as a backup catcher, or So and Rojas is Rojas. I don't have any words to say about Miguel Rojas that I haven't already said.
Yeah, Teoscar, another one. I know he was hurt in May, so he missed a couple weeks, but he's had 1 homer in May and June so far. So the power hasn't necessarily been there for the Dodgers, and I don't think that's something we've really talked about. But yeah, I mean, general concern, nothing glaring right now. There's obviously always going to be concern in games that matter. There's always going to be concern that the Dodgers just don't hit in certain situations, like kind of like they did this weekend. But I don't think there's anything glaring to the point where it's like, okay, this, other than Michael Conforto, which we've already talked about, and Don Rushing is definitely something we're going to talk about this week when we get a chance. But let's last couple minutes here. Let's talk about the Padres series coming up. It's normally a big series in general, for more so for like social media and for fans, and we want bragging rights. But now the Padres come in one game behind. It is only June, but last year the Padres did win the season series. So if they had ended up tied at some point, that would have came into play. What are you thinking right now? What's the temp check on this series specifically? First time they played each other this year.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that we're in mid-June before they play each other. It's not ideal where the Dodgers rotation is at going into this series. But also I like the Dodgers' chance. I sincerely believe, and obviously I'm wearing a lot of blue. I do a Dodgers podcast. I am biased. I sincerely believe the Dodgers are quite a bit better than the Padres. You look at run differential. Dodgers run differential is plus 74. Padres is plus 18. The big difference, the Dodgers have scored 108 more runs than the Padres this year in 2 more games. Problem is they've also allowed 52 more runs. The pitching has been the Dodgers' issue this year, and that's a concern that I have. But I think that the Padres are still playing a little bit above their level. They've had maybe a little bit easier schedule. And so I expect the Dodgers to win 2 out of 3 in this series.
Yeah, it's one of those where every game, every inning, probably going to feel annoying unless the Dodgers, have a 8-run inning in the first inning or something like that. So it's going to be one of those series. We're getting the 2 of the Padres, best pitchers, Pivetta and Cease, who have been really good, but also have had struggling games. It's not a barometer of obviously these 2 teams at the moment. We're not seeing any of the Dodgers' best starters. Yamamoto's not pitching in this series. So, I'm not worried if the Dodgers do end up losing this series in the sense of like, oh man, the Padres are going to beat them when it matters. But yeah, it's definitely one of those series where, come on, Dodgers, just like win it for us. Give us fans, whoever, if you want to talk smack or whatever it is, or just to be glad, extend the lead. There's a lot of different things there, but yeah, offensively, the Padres have been struggling after their hot start to the season. They've kind of leveled off, obviously similar to the Dodgers because there's only 1 game in between them. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But again, whatever does happen, everything's going to be heightened. Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
Yep. It's right June. Yeah. Dodgers there's a lot of season to play, including 13 games between the Dodgers and the Padres between now and the end of the season. And not every one of them can be live or die. But I still want the Dodgers to go 13-0 in those games,
Yeah. In Padres, similar vein, the Cardinals apparently kept replaying the Matt Adams homer over and over on Sunday when Clayton Kershaw was pitching. Clayton Kershaw was asked about it after, and he called it Bush League, but didn't expect anything different from them. So, yeah, the Cardinal way, the right way, whatever it is. Kershaw, last time a team trolled Kershaw specifically, it didn't end up well for them in that season. So, hopefully, matters here.
Yeah, whatever. Kershaw handled it well and handled it the way he should by shutting down the Cardinals. So
yeah. All right. You got anything else, Jeff?
No, looking forward to a series with the Padres. Hopefully it's more fun than annoying.
Yeah, hopefully that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening and watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube. Make your first listen us, your second listen Locked On MLB game or Locked On Game Night, found on Locked On MLB YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. You can go beyond the podcast on Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us and join our Discord server. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you're in your car, if you're at home, text my advice play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.